So the regional managers, they carry the flag for every organization. As the regional goes, the company follows, or that portfolio will follow. You know, a lot of people get promoted and then it's, well, teach me how to do it. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that, right? You have to act with your character and your integrity in everything that you do, and it'll work out. It's a promise. We need pioneers. We need people.
Of course.
We need people taking a step out and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And
Carl, welcome back to the show.
it is good to be back. Thank you, Adrian.
It's so great to see you for the first time in person.
In person, yeah. So just our connection. You're just a gift, not only to me in my life, but also so many others. So I appreciate what you do, and you got a great reach. And I know that the work that you do is impactful, and people appreciate having you. And I just thank you for all that you're giving to us.
So do you, brother. It's extremely great to have you on. I've been looking forward to this, to this meeting you, and also to the conversation to follow. And it's also great that we have it here on camera,
Yes,
right?
awesome.
So we're documenting that. Tell me about your new position.
So I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Apartment Dynamics. I work with Tom and Mary Gwen. It's just an exceptional experience. I've only been in for a small amount of time, but just the impact that they've had on my life, and just caring and very graceful people. And you can see that throughout the whole organization. It's not heavy on the corporate side. We allow people to be authentic, find that we have exceptional servant leaders. And you hear people talk about those phrases, but like to see it in action and see how people interact. And it's a successful organization. They have 2 decades worth of experience in property management. And you can see the relationships that we have with our ownership groups, where we're connected with them and they trust us and we trust them to do the things that they need to do. So all in all, it's a great opportunity. I get to grow. I get to do things that I haven't done in quite some time, which is third-party management and building relationships with different groups. People move differently. There's different business strategies that each ownership group has, and it allows us to be agile and to come up with solutions for them as we work with them. So there's a lot of growth for me, a lot of growth for the site teams that we have and the corporate staff that gets to support that. So it's really cool.
What's the size of your current portfolio?
So we have around 6,500 units, 48 communities, 150 team members in the organization. It's a smaller organization that I have experience with. There's an opportunity to grow with Apartment Dynamics. We're looking anywhere between 8 to 10,000 units, where we feel comfortable that we don't lose the connection with our ownership groups, and it still gives us a really good footprint. We're in North Carolina, South Carolina. The majority of our portfolio is in North Carolina. That's where our experience is. We can go into markets and talk to ownership groups that are in state and out of state, and to our experts. So we get to use that talent for people that are out of the state of North and South Carolina, and they can leverage us to maximize their assets.
Are you looking to expand beyond North and South Carolina?
Not at this time. We don't want to lose that connection, and we consider ourselves expert regionally in this market. So it allows us to be really good, strong partners for the ownership groups that we represent.
So there's a lot going on in a country, in a markets. I wanted to ask you, what are the things that keep your clients up at night? What are the things that they're most concerned about?
I think a lot of it is staffing and stability. What we don't want, and this is every property management organization, really every business, you want to find good talent, and you want to leverage that talent, and then you want to sustain performance. So to be in a sweet spot, you're 95, you're 95% occupied, you're collecting 98% of the rent, You have strong reputation scores. When you lose people, you start losing that edge or that performance. I have the mindset of taking leaders and making them stronger. And a lot of that is based on the culture that you have. And, we have found that when people leave, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? People leave and they come back, and we sustain that way. But also, it's giving people an experience where they want to be a part of a successful organization. And a lot of that comes with coaching, and that comes with, so there's a lot to that. So there's monthly one-on-one meetings where a supervisor is talking to a direct report, but the direct report is really leading that conversation of, these are the areas that I want to grow in, or these are where I see I'm not doing well. We want people taking ownership and accountability for who they are and what they need to work on. And then that supervisor has the responsibility of working with, coaching, providing resources where they can gain strength. And when people see that an organization cares about them at that level, they don't want to lose that. And there's that connectedness that we want our teams to have, and we want people to be promoted. And if you're investing your time in an organization, you want to see some return on that. And that return could be the culture. The return could be a promotion. But all in all, it's just growth. People just want to grow, and they want to feel confident about what they do and how they interact with the team. And when you build that kind of relationship and you build that kind of reputation, is where not only does it help the internal functions of an organization, but also people outside of that will see that. So ownership groups will see that culture. Investors, if you're with a REIT or you're working with a portfolio that has outside people, they see that, they sense that. And that's what gives people strength. And that's where I am right now, just building that kind of culture and that type of connection.
You mentioned the one-on-ones that happen monthly. Do you have a way to capture that feedback from the employees? And then if you do, how do you process that and how do you follow through with it?
Yes.
What do you do with it?
Yeah, so in all transparency, we're just implementing that now.
Okay, so it's just starting now.
So, Apartment Dynamics, they've always had that, but technically they weren't structured doing it. People were having conversations, but to the point where you call it a one-on-one meeting hasn't taken place. So we're just establishing that now. So we use Swift Bunny. Shout out to Swift Bunny. They do our surveys. They do an extraordinary job for us. Danielle's a wonderful partner for us, and we take the feedback from those surveys, and we get not frustrated, but we see where our areas of opportunity are for all those that are taking surveys. Those are really important, not only to you, but they're important to the organization that you represent. And the more transparent you are, and the more, if you work with a company of quality and you voice concerns or you let people know that, hey, these are the things that we need to improve on, people are going to take those and they're going to make a concerted effort to fix the things that are broken or enhance the things that they do. So take the time and be honest in your surveys and let people know what you think. Don't get all caught up and, oh, they're going to know it's me. All right, well, that's not a bad thing. And when it's fixed, it's good to go back to people and say, hey, we listened to you and we fixed that thing. So be transparent and be honest and let people know what you think. And people are going to take advantage or they're going to do the right thing.
I was just having a conversation last week with someone that is very bullish on data and how data is going to change the game. In other words, if you're able to collect the accurate data, whatever data that might be, and we're talking about here data from employees, like that particular feedback, you find a way to harvest it, and now technology, especially AI, offers you everything. If you just record the conversations, like literally recording them, and then run them through AI to process that, and put it like in a structured way, the feedback, this could be like a gold mine for you and for your group. So I wonder if you're envisioning, if you have any strategy in regards to data, and it could be like this particular situation or any other data in the future to play a role in how you make decisions for your company on the operation side.
Yeah, so data is important, and it's so interesting. You hear property managers say, "Oh, we have all this reporting, and we have all this admin work." It's a data admin industry, and collecting all that data really takes a lot of time. And I think right now, people are looking at the AI and they're looking at BI and how to feed those two together. So we give time back to managers, and we don't want them pushing papers. We don't want them wrapped up in admin work. But the technology is a gift right now, and it's how people are leveraging that technology and how they're using it to improve. And there's a lot of people in property management that are concerned some about AI and BI, and how's that going to impact their job. And I don't think people are looking to eliminate positions and take people's jobs away from them. We're trying to find ways, our organization is trying to find ways where we can pull the information without having people pull the information for us. And what that does is that gives time back to our people where they can connect and they can touch. And we want people walking the tour route. We want people walking the vacant units. We want people walking the grounds. We want people following up on telephone calls. We want people interacting with prospects. We want people interacting with residents that we have. And it's all about reputation, and it's about being connected and making your people feel more special than the people down the road. I think the technology is important, and we're pulling the technology in so we give more time back to people where they can connect, and that's really what it's all about.
What's currently the extent of using AI at scale, or like AI-driven technology in your company?
Well, we're looking at changing out a market survey and not doing it by hand. So, we're really struggling with that because we want our sales teams, our leasing professionals, and our managers connected with our comps, and we want them connected inside their region. So we want them visiting, we want them going through the data, the information, so they know their comps. And if you pull in the technology, they don't have to do that anymore. Like, it'll all be prepared for them. So like, there's companies out there like Apartment IQ or Radix that do those things. So, we're currently looking at how we're going to pull that technology in and give people time back. But also, we want our leasing teams, sales teams, really connected inside that market, which means they have to get out. So we can use both. We use Meet a Lease. So I think Elise AI is a great partner with us, and we're establishing that for our tours. We're doing the voice AI. In some of our properties, we're using the delinquency piece. So again, that gives more time back for our people, where they're not really focused on getting a tour. It's what happens after the tour. And that's where that connection is. We use a BI program where we're pulling all of our data in. Tom Gwynn is responsible for that, and he does a great job learning what systems are out there and how that best works for our company and in our team. So those are two areas that we're using technology.
On maintenance side, any type of like cutting edge technology or new technology that you're in process of embracing or you're considering?
Not yet. We're looking at some different systems out there. I think right now, we want our service teams. You have to have the right teams that embrace the technology. We have Resman, which we use, and right now we're in a position where we want our service teams getting familiar with really using that Resman platform, where they're either using an iPad or they're using their phone to do service requests, inspections, PMs. So we're right now just starting with our maintenance teams, and that's probably going to be a year out before we start incorporating that. But again, once they embrace it, they'll find that they'll have more time to do the important things instead of doing the paperwork.
Any thoughts on centralization, and do you have any centralization initiatives within your company?
Yeah, that's really hard when you're talking third party because you have different ownerships groups. You have some owners with one property, some owners with five. And how do you centralize that where you're splitting staff amongst other properties? And again, we're just doing our research now to see how that works for us and how it adds benefit. But that's something that I know Mary Gwynn's been looking at that, of how we can best incorporate that. But we just have to find the right fit where we're taking care of our ownership groups and what's best for the business. And a piece of that centralization, whether it's leasing or maybe it's an assistant manager or property manager with oversight on different properties, we want to make sure we get it right, and we don't want it to be a test bed where we fail too much on that. So we're in the process of touching base with some other companies and kind of seeing how they're doing it and how it potentially can work for us in the future. But it is the future, but it's how best to leverage it without hurting the business at the same time.
Remember when one missed call meant starting all over again? In multifamily, every missed connection still costs you today. Today's renters expect instant answers on their terms, anytime, anywhere. That's why BetterBot was built, the premier agentic AI platform transforming multifamily leasing, marketing, and resident engagement. Agentic AI isn't just automation. It's AI that can perceive, decide, and act, working toward goals without constant human supervision. It's not just smarter, it's independent, task-completing AI built for the real demands of multifamily. Every missed message, every delayed response, it adds up. In multifamily, slow communication and manual work mean lost leads, more work for your team, and lower NOI. BetterBot works the way you want, seamlessly connecting with CRMs, 3D tours, marketing platforms, and more. Whether you're using Yardi, RealPage, Entrata, Funnel, MRI, Rent Cafe, Knock, or still searching for the right solution, BetterBot fits your tech stack or becomes your hub, powering your property to greater success for less. From first inquiry to renewal, BetterBot covers the full renter lifecycle, freeing your teams, boosting your occupancy, and maximizing your ROI. In today's fiercely competitive market, free isn't a bargain, it's a barrier. Choose agentic AI built for multifamily. Choose BetterBot. Schedule your demo today at betterbot.com.
I'm curious, what do you think about the layoffs? There's a lot of layoffs going on in the industry, and I have on good authority that there's another wave of like major layoffs happening in our industry, especially in large operators, institutional third-party management, companies that are like top 10. I think we're about to see some massive layoffs. There's a lot to be said regarding to this. I like your thoughts on that.
That's a hard one. Look, everybody's looking. We're a business, and we're there to drive revenue, and everybody's looking at the bottom line. I think right now it's twofold. You have to continue doing what you're doing to show the value of what you bring. In some instances where it really doesn't matter how much value you have, there are organizations that are going to make cuts regardless. I think it's extremely important to get yourself out there and have conversations with people, build reputations with companies. So when the time does come, it narrows that window you have to find something out there. And I just recently went through that. I worked for a great organization with tremendous chief team. Those people are close to me, and that organization is still close to me. But I understood the pivot, and I understood the reason why the change was made. I'm going to get a little deep here, but you have to trust the process. You have to trust the situations that you go through and know that there's going to be a way out for you or a better opportunity for you. I found a better opportunity just based on the learning experience that I got. I don't think people can walk around in fear. People can't be afraid of what's going to happen. You have to do your very best at all times. You have to act with your character and your integrity in everything that you do, and it'll work out. It's a promise.
You see, this is an extremely important message. Some people will try to keep things at the surface, right? You sharing your experience, going through this change, and also explaining that when it really comes down to, a business decision like that, how long have you been with your previous employer?
5 years.
5 years. That's a long time. It's not a short amount of time, but when decisions are being made, they're not necessary personal decisions or like personal against you. And for those of you watching today, I think it's very, very important to kind of hear what Carl has to say, because understanding that this is a decision that's more about I guess numbers and strategy than about people will be helpful, right? Don't blame it on yourself that you got laid off. This happened to me a couple of years ago, twice in a year, and it never happened before in my entire career. So I think it's important that people understand.
Yeah, I think that's important you said that, Adrian. So look, I've been in the business for 35 years. I started off as a maintenance tech and kind of worked my way up. And, I kind of, when things don't go the way you think they should go or don't go well for you, you have to look back at yourself and look at your accomplishments and how you got there. And look, we're not going to be masters of everything. And there's a chemistry piece to this too, where there's right fits and the right companies at the right time. And sometimes companies move or, like we said, pivot, and they have a different business model or a different plan, and they need a different type of talent. So there was a talent that was needed that wasn't my strong suit. So the company made a decision to make a change and get the right person. And it wasn't because I wasn't working hard or I wasn't thinking clearly or any of those things. It was just a simple business decision. And I think, companies of quality, you're gonna see the signs, you're gonna have conversations, and hopefully it's not hitting you out in left field. You kind of got a sense of what's happening, and I think people are honorable in that. That's what happened with me. I think it's important that people evaluate where they are, but always keep your doors open, and don't walk around with blinders on. And life's life, and life is not meant to be easy, and it's supposed to be a journey, and you're supposed to have your challenges, and we're made to overcome those challenges and learn from those things that don't go the way we think they should, and apply those to our lives, but also teach people around us what our experience is or has been, so you can take that value that you've learned and then you share that with other people. And I think that's part of the human experience, and that's kind of who we are, and that's a mindset. If you go with the oh me and why is this happening to me and on, then that's what you're going to be living with. So you always have to keep moving and stay positive and know that there will always be something good there for you. You just have to look for it.
Part of what I've seen happening lately with the layoffs is that, first of all, ownership groups are making money when transactions happen, when they're purchasing new assets or when they're selling assets. And that's when they're making the fees, because they're in a position to charge fees to their investors. And at the sale, hopefully there's a profit too, on top of the fees that they're charging the investors. Because we're kind of in a lockdown right now that, there's not so many transactions happening. Like those groups are not able to generate those fees. Therefore, they're actually looking at everything in a business and where can we reduce expenses. And one of the highest line item expenses is payroll. So I think that's helpful to just kind of make everybody understand. I think once the economy loosens up and money are starting to circulate, we're going to see again, a number of opportunities, and I'll say quite a few of them.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that as well. I think right now, we're going through, it's an ebb and flow. And it's not the first time this industry has had this. And I think it's just riding it out and seeing how it all kind of comes to fruition until it happens again. And I think, centralization is a big piece of that, where companies are looking, how can we reduce, but how can we still keep our reputation and our performance, right? And I think the more you disconnect people from people, the more it just becomes, unattractive when it comes to where you live and people being available for you. And I think, people don't want to be put in the position of, you have to wait until, right? And then when companies start realizing that and it starts hurting them and the reputation starts hurting, then it'll probably swing back around a little bit. But I think centralization it's going to be here to stay. And it's how companies maximize that. But people are looking at the bottom numbers and, what they can do to kind of save where they can.
I'm seeing also a reversal of centralized plans. There's some actually fairly large, if not large players out there that have tried this for a number of years, 2-3 years now, and they're rolling back. They're saying this is not working for us.
I can see that, and that's our hesitation, right? And I think we talked about that earlier, is, we don't want to roll into something or begin something and then say, it didn't work. And we don't want to lose that continuity with what we have. I think it's extremely important that people take their time. They look at the long-term benefits and the long-term cost of this as well. And it's not just the monetary cost, it's the reputation cost. And how do we sustain this? So that's why we're taking the time that we're taking, not necessarily to look at other people to see if they succeed at it. We look at us as our business model and how is this going to impact us into the future if we go down that road. So people need to take the time and evaluate how other companies are doing it. And we need pioneers. We need people.
Of course.
We need people taking a step out and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And it's a pivot, and we're going to see how people do with it.
Consolidation is something that it becomes more and more obvious, especially for the top 50 NMHC managers. So I think larger companies are becoming even more larger. They're looking to buy like smaller companies. There's a trend. Well, it has been a trend historically, but I think more than ever right now, larger players are looking to actually absorb like companies. Just like if we remember about 10, 12 years ago when Greystar bought Riverstone, their second competitor, that was incredible at the time, and they doubled the size because they were like neck and neck, the same size. So I think we're gonna see a lot of other bold moves, because when you think about it, transactions aren't happening. So then one of the very few ways left to kind of like make money would be
Buy another company.
to buy another company.
Yeah.
And like increase your business that way. So you buy an entire company and the businesses come with it. So very interesting times. To close the conversation, Carl, what are some things that you're looking forward to this year and then beyond 2026?
I think it's looking at systems that we're pulling in that's going to take us out the next 5 years. Like a lease is one. I think looking at how we use the BI and the data that we have to give people more time back, and it's establishing those relationships with our ownership groups. That's the main thing from a business perspective. I think a lot of my focus is it's interesting. You talked about the bigger companies, and I loved my time with Aimco and Archstone Smith, huge companies. And some people kind of get lost in those bigger companies where you're a small fish in a big pond.
It's easy to get lost. That's just the reality.
And I think, with these bigger companies, if they really zeroed in on the culture and had the right leadership teams, and a lot of these companies do have really strong leadership teams, but it's the coaching piece. And you can still be disconnected in a larger organization, but still have that feel where the direct reports trust their supervisor because their supervisor listens to them, and their supervisor coaches them, and their supervisor holds them accountable in a caring way. And I think the more the bigger companies do that, You can have a big company with a smaller feel where people feel valued and they feel trusted and they feel like they add value instead of being lost in an organization. Where I sit, I've got the opportunity to work with a smaller team where they get to feel that every day, and there's a lot of quality experience both ways in those types of things. So I think right now it's just building a culture or continuing on the culture that we have, but strengthening that culture where people feel as though they belong there and they can add value.
I call those microcultures. Why do I call them? Because they're being galvanized around like a regional leader, typically a regional manager.
Yeah.
And you see 4 to 8 properties and the teams that are gravitating around that particular regional, and you could tell the differences in companies based on who the leader is at the very top of that microcosmos, of that particular area. And I think even for larger companies, that's very like when you hire great regionals and great regional vice presidents at that level, you set a tone for them to just kind of take and build the cultures that they've been empowered and trusted with, versus being from the very top down, trying a very top down approach. It's nearly impossible in my experience.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. I think so. The regional managers, they carry the flag for every organization. As the regional goes, the company follows, or that portfolio will follow. And I think it's critical that companies have the right regionals that authentically care about what they're doing, which means they show up and they actually walk properties and they teach managers and they use after action reviews to talk about what went well, what didn't go well, what did you learn from that, how can we improve. And what we're doing is we're teaching that. So you need regional vice president. Well, first you need an ownership group that's leading the company the right way. They're there to support the mission and provide the resources for the company to operate. And then you have your vice presidents that provide the oversight for the regional teams, and then you have your site managers that are running the assets. And one of the biggest responsibilities and obligations that a regional vice president, or a regional manager has is teaching people below them how to do those things. So we're actually teaching our future, or we're cultivating our industry of how to think and do and kind of move comfortably in their roles. I have the philosophy of I like to teach people where they are on their next move. And a lot of people get promoted and then it's, well, teach me how to do it. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that, right? So, we take our assistant managers and we give them the job profile for the manager. So we want them to master their assistant property manager job profile, but we want them working in the manager's job profile. And then when we promote them into a manager's role, they know the job. They've done the things that a manager does. So really all they're doing is they're moving their desk to another office, and now they're operating an asset. So manager to regional, you master the job profile for a community manager, and then if you want to be a regional, you take the regional manager job profile, then you start having conversations about how do you do this, and walk me through this, and can I do this with you? And then we're cultivating people to move comfortably in their roles. And I think that's a great culture to be in.
Carl, it's been amazing having you back, brother.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Adrian.